Ryan Glover here, and I was on TMZ. I was reading about Sophia Leone. She died in Albuquerque like earlier this year, and they revealed that she died of a drug overdose. And she's not the first porn star like I've heard of dying of a drug overdose. It's a very common occurrence where porn stars have died of drug overdoses or they committed suicide. I think of people like Cagney Lynn Carter or August Ames, and I think that there seems to be epidemic in the adult film industry where women who engage in adult film are dying of drug overdoses or suffer from mental health issues. I think about my own friend Amara Ramani, who died of a drug overdose last year right before Christmas. I think that um it's time for there to be some laws that are implemented in society. We need to take a stand to stop the exploitation of these women, some of the most vulnerable members of our population, some of the people who have mental health issues, and they're not being protected. I think one of the things that we could do is make porn illegal on the internet. Some people will argue that it's a First Amendment right, but there's nothing legal about obscenity. I think about Miller versus California, which obscenity isn't protected speech. And so we really can take a stand and get porn off of the internet. And I think our society would be better for it. It would be better for our children. Children don't need to be subjected to being able to view adult film and it ruining their brains, giving them unrealistic expectations of sex, which is exactly what adult film does. And I don't know what age you were when you started watching adult film, but I was pretty young, and I think it definitely affected the way I view sexual relationships in an unhealthy way. And I think of people like Kanye West, how that affected him. He's talked about in previous interviews, and maybe we could make a better society just by getting porn off the internet. It's a very simple thing. I think we definitely have the technology and the ability to do it. And what's the difference between prostitution and adult film? Really, because you pay a woman for sex, it's considered prostitution. But if you pay a woman for sex and you film it and then you upload it, why can people profit off of that? And it goes right in hand with the sex trafficking industry. I've interviewed girls who were basically minors and started being in the adult film industry because they didn't have many other choices as far as ways to make money. And I think that it's a really dangerous industry where it takes advantages of people, particularly women, where a lot of times they've been raped on adult film sets, didn't agree to do certain things, and are kind of forced and then exploited for a long term, where people are making monies off these videos in perpetuity, and they're not seeing really any of that money. There's no union to ensure that they get the health benefits that they need, where it's like it is in SAG-AFTRA, where you're able to qualify for medical or other benefits that will help you later in life. So I think we could really make a difference in the world by just getting rid of the adult film industry and making a better society, getting rid of OnlyFans. And there's really no need. These things are actually, I think, a big part of the decline of our society. I think it's making men weaker, where they're giving their money and their resources as opposed to spending money on their family or people that they love or their goals or their hobbies. They're giving their money to women to see their private parts. And then what does it do to the women who are exploited, where they feel all that they have to offer is their body? So I think it would be a great benefit to society to just eradicate porn from the internet. And I think it seems like an extreme view, but it's something that we can actually do if enough people stood up and say this is enough. And particularly for the women in the adult film industry who have been taken advantage of in the past. I think about my friend like Amara Romani, and she died of a drug overdose, and she had been like an adult film, but at the end of her life, she was just dropped off at like a hospital, by a boyfriend who given her a fatal heroin overdose. And I think like that's not a good way to die. Like I think like to die alone, basically, like where people were just like taking advantage of you and using you, exploiting your body. And we could really like make a change in society and make society a better place. And I think like a lot of times that people are making arguments like for an industry that really like doesn't really have any benefits. I understand like women are able to make like good money sometimes, but like at the cost of what? At the cost of their soul. And we're supposed to be like a Christian nation that was founded under God, and like, to bring God into it. I mean, I don't think God would approve of like what goes on like Pornhub or like these other sites like Brazzers or Reality Kings or whatever site it is. Like that's not like of God, and I don't think that's what he intended the purpose of sex for. I believe that the purpose of sex was marriage. I think like we could really like make a start like what I'm saying, for a better nation where like people weren't exploited, people weren't taken advantage of, people were treated fairly. And I think like one of the things that people don't talk about is the fact that the adult film industry, a lot of times that it goes hand in hand with sex trafficking. I've interviewed girls on my channel where they started like working in the adult film industry as minors, and like these people like who were kind of like bought like these minors to the adult film industry aren't held accountable. Look at my interview with Chloe Carter where she talks about how Eva Lovia was recruited her to be in the adult film industry while she was working as a minor at a strip club. Even if Eva Lovia didn't know like that Chloe Carter was a minor, but like she moved to Las Vegas, and she says it in the interview, so like it's there. And I don't know, like I think like people should be more upset about this. I did hear like a senator like in Utah was trying to pass a bill like to make porn illegal. I think Senator Mike Lee, I don't think he had very much success with that, but like I do see like people online kind of championing this. Is like I see like organizations like Exodus exposing the adult film industry and how harmful it is. I see Gianfranco Martinez. I think like it's really like a horrible industry, and it makes horrible people do horrible things, exploit people, take advantage of them, and like we just have a better society. And what is our society without laws? I don't understand why prostitution is so out in the open, why they're able to have sex sites like Eros. I remember like Trump stopped Backpage, but why do sites like Eros still operate? Or we could really make a difference in society and make society a better place. I think like you see all the time where men aren't approaching women anymore, but like if we got rid of like the sex work and put a crackdown on it legally, I think like society would be better. And that's just my opinion. I don't see like how OnlyFans or these porn sites are benefiting society at all. If anything, they're ruining and adding to the decline of society. And I would encourage like all my viewers not to support adult film stars, not to support sex workers. I think like that we really need to champion putting our energy into our families, putting our energy into people being successful and contributing to society. There's no purpose in giving your money away to an OnlyFans model, adult film star, any sex worker. That's not going to do anything for you. And yeah, that's my thoughts. Let me know in the comments what you think.